It's time to bring it all together. This is Jensen with the ToonHeadz, bringing you the final part of this video series on how to caricature a nose and side profile. Throughout this series, we've broken down the key characteristics of the nose, such as general shape, sections, direction, and protrusion. Each of these key characteristics are things you need to consider when analyzing a nose. For me, I go through a mental checklist, observing each aspect and checking off the boxes as I go. And doing this quickly helps me decide on what to exaggerate. So let's pull all of these characteristics together and get started and apply this to a reference. I'm gonna pull this reference from earthsworld.com. So here is the reference and a perfect nose for this demonstration. Let's first start by finding the general shape of the nose, then we'll break that up into sections. You can see that the general shape is pretty much round, sort of like this. Now let's break that general shape into sections. As you'll notice, the bulb is the largest section of the nose, so that is something you'll want to exaggerate. Next, let's look at the overall direction of the nose. Would you say the nose's direction is straight, up, or down? I would say that it has a very slight curve up, just very slightly. So we'll keep that in mind. Lastly, let's look at the protrusion. Does the nose stick out far? I think it does, especially with that big bulb. So now that we did a quick study, let's pop on over to the drawing desk and draw his nose. Now, with a fresh sheet of paper, we're going to go ahead and grab our Copic marker and do that general shape of the head and side profile. So we're going to do a circle and then the triangle, eye line. Now, we're going to have to concentrate on doing the protrusion, direction, and general shape of the nose. So I'm going to make sure that I am keeping that on track while I am just kind of sketching this out and feeling it. Now let's go ahead and switch to our Crayola marker. And we're going to start with the bridge of the nose. We're going to go ahead and go around for the bulb. And I went a little bit further than what I originally sketched. And that's something that you got to do. Sometimes you're not strict with the sketch. I'm going to go ahead and do that nostril. And do the wing of the nose. I'll go ahead and do those quick lines that I like doing. And there we go. Now, if I want to finish out this caricature, it would look a little something like this. And that's it. Keep experimenting with different nose types and push those exaggerations while keeping a likeness. And remember, the nose is just the start. Once you nail it, the rest of the face falls into place much easier. And this is Jensen, wishing you the best on your art venture. Thanks for tuning in, and keep drawing. Okay. Thank you.